Okay, good enough. Now we start. Um, Good evening to everyone. At least evening here where I'm at. Some of you may be early morning. We're going to start now. Please join your palms and bow. Recitation of the four great vows. I vow to deliver innumerable sentient beings of self-nature. I vow to cut off endless fixations of self-nature. I vow to master limitless approaches to Dharma of self-nature. I vow to attain supreme Buddhahood of self-nature. And again, the term when we use self-nature here, it's to realize that all of the things that we just said are all created by the mind. And when we understand that, when we understand um, the key to being able to fathom uh, this, what we call chan, which is the practice, and fathom mind isn't necessarily to understand mind, but to realize that this very mind that you're using is not other than the Buddha mind. When we start this way, this is what we call right view. Right view is very important because it tells you what you're doing in whatever you're engaged in. So when we're doing meditation, meditation is very simple. We make it complicated. We just simply rest the mind in mind. But that's not necessarily an easy thing to do because we can say it, but you say, well, how do I do that? How can I rest mind in mind? The first thing is we have to examine that I is not involved in this. The I is an appearance. We often talk about gross obstructions, greed, hatred, ignorance, but then there's still another level of obstructions, much more subtle, and it requires a subtle wisdom to be able to overcome it. And you say, well, how does subtle wisdom come into play when we're meditating? It doesn't come into play in the way that you are involved in it. You are not involved in the meditation. You are an appearance, a wisp of vapor that's coming and going, coming and going. And the gross obstructions, where one might have us say, this is great. I'm really doing well, or this is bad, or I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, I want something, I don't want anything, I want this to go away. Whatever it is, when we see the things in this way, then it creates an obstruction, these tiny little obstructions. And again, when you look around, you don't see the obstructions. You can't see it because those obstructions are still mind. But you do not have enough wisdom and practice to discern that those are appearances because you're meditating, rest mind and mind, but then in the next moment, there's thoughts coming up. Oh, it went away. Look, if I'm just quiet, these thoughts will go away. Those are the gross thoughts, gross sensations. But we're already past the stage of those uh, thoughts in that way. We've already gone through the jhana of applying the method, of a steady applying of the method, of the joy, and we're now on the fourth jhana, the higher one of upika, equipoise. And when we're in there, we can't quite make it because there's still these subtle movements in the mind that they don't come and jump in like an unpaid bill or a sense of attraction to something, a car, a jewel, a watch, a man, a woman, whatever, a dog. They don't jump in that way. They come in very subtle. They're starting to form. And if you look at them, they will start forming into something. Maybe anger, maybe love, whatever. But it is you looking at it. And this you, I'm saying in a very loose way, not you as an individual, but mind that's molding everything in that moment. But when you're sitting and meditating, you don't need the mind to mold anything. Everything is just very, very subtle, very soft, very quiet. This is resting the mind in the mind. The mind does not engage in a protracted discussion or a desire to continue a discussion. It is simply resting. So, what do you do when you rest? Absolutely nothing. If you really can rest the mind is just sitting. It knows it's sitting, but it's not doing anything other than sitting. So it's aware of that. It's aware that it's sitting. It's aware if the birds are chirping outside or a plane flies overhead. It's aware of the temperature, aware of the lighting. It's aware of all those things. And yet it is simply in a state of liberation. So, what is the state of liberation that it's in? Just resting. But it doesn't have to cry out to the world, I'm liberated. I'm sitting here. I feel so wonderful. This is great. Wait till I tell Gilbert about this. This is the third jhana of joy. There's still something there that is opposite, which is an, a disease in mind. I'm not comfortable. I have pain. I'm hungry. I'm bored, whatever. But when you're liberated from that, how wonderful, right? But it isn't in that way. At one point, then you let go of all of that and you're in equanimity, but there's still these subtle movements that are there, very, very subtle. And it's like mind is in mind, and then there's an appearance in mind over here on the side that's projecting. But the confusion is that the mind that's aware of all of that is tricked by the appearance into thinking that this belongs on this side. To look, what am I looking at? Who's talking? There's no one to talk. Mind doesn't talk. Appearances talk. Now, slowly take a look at that. Mind doesn't talk. The appearances talk. If I'm talking to you, I'm not really talking to you. An appearance is talking to you in mind to try to figure out how I'm going to get you to wake up. Not you, the one that's listening, the you that's deep down in there. It's always been there. It doesn't age. Me, if you saw me 40 years ago, I had hair. I looked different. I didn't need glasses. But it's now different. That's not you. That's not your mind. That's not that there's the ego, personality, life, or being, all of those things, they're on the appearance side. They're not on the awareness side. The awareness side of mind doesn't need to think, doesn't have to do anything when it's in meditation because there's nothing there to do except to sit. And why do you need to think about sitting? So that Master Sheng said, when you were using the method, and let's say the method is silent illumination, just sitting, then there's nothing there. You put that method there, and it's like this big bullfrog that covers everything, and it covers that, and you're just using the method, and there's nothing else that's squeezing out the sides of that, and that something else is these subtle movements of mind that we're not aware of. But if we're sincerely practicing and quiet, we become aware of these faint vapors, just these faint vapors of the potential of appearances in mind. And then voila, Gilbert appears. Hey, did you miss me? You said my name 3 times and I'm here. And I'm appearing here, right? Or maybe that was Beetlejuice. But in any case, you I'm I'm here. And then all of a sudden, this guy appears to jump over onto this side. But it isn't in that way. If the mind just continues to rest, this illusion will jump onto this other side because the mind is aware that not a thing is appearing. When it is not engaged in a function, it's simply rest. When this side, all appearances on this side disappear, the mind will appear. This is from distinguishing phenomena from its intrinsic nature treatise, the Dharma Vibhaga. And it says that when you're sitting and all these thoughts are disentangled from the mind, then the mind will appear. And you go, where is it? It isn't in that way where it appears. But that's the way we think about it. But that's just kind of a joke. Once I was in court, and when I was practicing, the local courthouse was a beautiful old building, well over 100 years old, with marble floors and pillars and long corridor, all going all the way down. So if you said something on one side, the people on the other end could hear it. They used it a lot for movies, sometimes for ancient movies, sometimes in the future, some place that you're at where you're talking to this deity or something, because it's such this kind of a majestic setting, but it's so it echoes. And once I was talking to this one attorney, very tough attorney, very good attorney, and I was going to make him an offer from my client. He was on the other side of the hallway, so he had to come down to see me. I knew he wasn't going to be happy with my offer that I was going to do, and I knew that he was going to get excited. But I had to convey the offer. The client said, well, just offer it to him. So I offered him the offer, and he just looked at me, very tall gentleman. Really, his face got so red. He's the kind of person that their emotions are, you see them clearly on their face, not just from the mouth and eyes, but his skin just went to a lobster red. And he just looked at me and he went, Jesus H. Christ. And he looked down the hallway. And I went, where? And he was so, what do you mean? Where? You said it so convincingly. I thought Jesus Christ appeared down the hallway. And so that's the way that we're thinking. If you do this, there's going to be this appearance of the Buddha or somebody that's going to meet you and high five you. Incidentally, this gentleman became one of my good lifelong career friends, and we always talked after that. No, so it was very interesting to see somebody and convert them to a friend, and it was a mutual respect for his abilities and my abilities, and my off the wall humor that actually diffused the situation and enabled us to actually settle that case. Because it just broke him, because once he realized what I was doing and going, I honestly thought Jesus Christ appeared because you said it so loud and convincingly. It was something that made a bond between us. But the reason I'm saying that is because sometimes we think not Jesus Christ, but the Buddha is going to appear if we're there and sitting, and we're there with one eye open, looking to see if the Buddha's coming or not. And Shifu said, you cannot meditate with one eye open looking for enlightenment or looking for the Buddha. Both eyes have to be on the method. They have to be there continuously. And this is how one meditates, by resting in mind, is we rest in a way in which uh, there it isn't that there are not appearances, but those appearances are relegated to this side, that they're like paintings on a wall. Even the ancient uh, cavemen, they painted a picture wall of a buffalo or friends or whatever. But when they did that, then they didn't believe that that was really a buffalo. Maybe if they did think it was, no, that was their ignorance from that time period. But they were just merely projections that were illuminated by this flickering campfire that was there. Your mind is that fire, that illumination. And yet, these things that appear there, it was the mind that painted that picture of a buffalo on the cave wall. Little by little, we understand how to practice and understand this. And lately, I heard a really wise statement that was in some program that I was watching. By now, Esther's probably rolling her eyes. And actually, yes, it was a Chinese drama. But they said in the program that paper cannot cover fire. If you have a fire and you want to cover it with paper, it will be consumed. And it's this way in which one is sitting very rested, that this fire of illumination is illuminating, and it illuminates right through these small vapors of cognition or consciousness, and illuminates them so clearly. To know that their appearances, just like the buffalo on the cave wall, they know that that's just an appearance. When you sit to meditate, isn't that just the way it is? When you're sitting to meditate, where do these images appear? Did it always belong to the wall? Or was it just put up? But we don't confuse that with the true mind, it's signless, it's formless, it's infinite, inconceivable. If you contemplate on the definition of infinite, think about that. Think about how would you define what is infinite? Try to feel infinite. This is how you sit, resting mind in mind. You rested in the infinite. Mind is infinite. Nothing else is infinite, only mind. You rested there. You want a push start, contemplate infinite before you start to sit, and let it sit in this infinite. That's resting the mind. The Buddha resting in the Buddha. Not bad. And here's the good news, is that you have this very Buddha mind, this very mind that's listening right now is the Buddha mind. It already came with the whole thing. Actually, it was there before you came. Isn't that true? Isn't that what the 12 Nidanas talk about? That first there was ignorance. From this ignorance, and let's stop there for a moment. Whose ignorance? Not your ignorance. You haven't been formed yet. If you were a Christian, and some of you may be a Christian and you contemplate this, before creation, there was God, and in his utmost ignorance, created the world. Well, wait a minute. Why are you saying that? Is the world perfect? Can you tell me that this world is perfect? No, it's not. It's far from perfect. But this Buddha mind has an interest in this creation. It doesn't want the appearances of killing and stealing and lying. It wants to take that away. But it knows it can't just smooth everything out and say, oh, now we have peace and everybody's going peace. If there was never a war, you would not need peace. That's a duality. So when you sit on your cushion, don't sit in peace. Sit in the infinite. This is resting the mind. If you truly pay attention to what I'm talking to you about, it's going to cut a lot of time off of your practice. To some of you, it will be close to instant. To others, it can cut a kalpa or two off of your practice. But since you're all here listening to this profound Dharma, then you now have the capacity, the ability to be able to transcend this world. And what is transcending the world? It is not that all of a sudden that you discovered that you were a super person with superpowers. It is a discovery that this whole world, including you, was created by the mind. But first, it was created in ignorance. How that happened, nobody knows. We can't go back there. Let's go and talk to the Buddha. Where are you going to find the Buddha? How are you going to communicate with the Buddha? The Buddha is signless, formless, infinite light. Do you speak infinite light? Maybe you can take a flashlight and flash it on and off and look for the Buddha that way. But that would be the equivalent of a lightning bug or firefly, I think they call it, firefly, lighting up Mount Sumeru. It's not going to work. You are that campfire. You are the light. When you turn the mind's eye inward, it no longer is engaged in the idea that it needs to clean this hand. What's it going to clean? What is observing all of this? This one over on this side thinks that it is doing it. Oh, you're not doing it. You're not. Mind. Mind is doing that. Mind, from the Dharma Dharmata Vibhanga Sutra, it talks about directing the mind towards non-conceptual wakefulness. When you are sitting on the cushion, you're simply, I shouldn't say you here, mind is simply sitting in non-conceptual wakefulness. Means it's not generating concepts of anything. It intrinsically knows already what you're doing and what you're going to do next and what you did before that. And each and every one of you, it has that ability to access all of that consciousness infinitely in time and space. It is that powerful. But we cannot get to that if we are the we. When we let go of the we, boom, the consciousness is there. It's not going to be coming to you on a silver platter, right away, and you're going to know everybody's thoughts. But isn't that one of the super mundane skills that come, is to know everyone's thoughts, to see things from a distance, all these different things. How does it happen? Because the Buddha has no dwelling place. The mind has no dwelling place. It just sits. But it's not sitting on a cushion. It is resting in the infinite. If you really want to do this thing right, practice in this way. When you're sitting in meditation, practice just sitting very, very quiet. You don't have to summon up anything, summon up superpower. Whatever it is, it's just a dream anyway. But you're there with your leg pain. Gilbert's such a liar. I can't believe that. I'm here. Now, not only do I have pain, I have infinite pain. Don't blame me for that. Just keep sitting. You can get through it. You need to go past that. I was reading one of Master Shen Hua's books yesterday, and he was talking about just enduring the pain. Suck it up. Be tough with it. Don't let it break you. You can break it. You have to have the faith. If you have the faith, it will work. And so this is how one begins to sit. The true mind, it's inconceivable. So how can we have something that's inconceivable rest in the inconceivable. So rest the mind in mind is meaning now there's no duality. Whatever apparently appeared on this side is not other than the mind itself. So what we're doing, just like one ancient um, uh, uh, poem said, it's the inquiry into the two matching halves. Inquiry is one is investigating. If you are a detective trying to solve I'll put it in a little softer way, a burglary case, you cannot try to solve the burglary case from the outside of the house. You would have to go into the house to look and see what happened, what was taken, what type of things were taken. All of these things we do. So we are investigating that. You are all victims of a crime. Identity theft. I don't want to tell you this, but you need to hear it. There's someone walking around posing as you. My goodness. Isn't that a crime, identity theft? It's even using your credit cards. How did I get this charge on there? I don't remember that. Where did all these things come up? I don't know that. So we have to round up the most unusual suspects. Who are the unusual suspects? Not me, but you bring up a lineup of people and you're in the lineup. You are in the lineup. You're not the one that's looking at it. You're in the lineup trying to be the one that's looking at the lineup to look for the criminal. And the one that's looking in the lineup, it sees you. We're okay, right? You're not going to send me to prison, are you? We're okay. And it looks at it and says, I don't see him. Why is it protecting you? You are the thief. You are posing as mind. But what do we know as mind? Mind is formless, immutable, doesn't change. It's permanent. Just look at your body. Can you say that your body is impermanent? Only if you looked at yourself in Madame Tussauds wax museum would you never change, right? You would always be there. And if you were in Madame Tussauds wax museum, what pose would you want to take? Think about that, because you're going to be in that pose forever. What would you pose as? You know, you'd think of different types of poses. No, that one won't do. This one's not bad. I can rest in this way. Smile. No, don't smile. You need to look more humble. No, not that way. It's not you. You're just an impersonator, like a wax museum puppet. But the good thing about that is that which is controlling this body that moves the right hand up, the left hand up, is mind. It's not other than mind. You are the puppet. Mind can direct you. It can say, okay, you've been talking for a while, get some tea. They won't mind, excuse me for a moment. It's just a shameless reason for me to sneak a little bit of tea in right now. But understand this. That's not you. The reason I'm spending the time on this and being light about it, because I don't want to scare you. I don't want to confuse you. But when you're sitting in meditation, mind is just simply calm and quiet. It is aware of what is arising in the mind because it's the non-arising mind. When we rest the mind in the inconceivable mind, it's hard. It's just like the admonition that we say that sit in no thinking. When the young monk saw his master sitting there so quiet, so serene, you don't have to have a stern look on your face. A lot of times you people look like this when you're sitting. Others look in pain. Any other ones? Others look distracted. Oh, the body, just let it sit. Just cut all the strings that are moving it. What are the strings that are moving it? Causes and conditions. Causes and conditions never fail. So when the young monk said to him, Shifu, what are you doing? He said, I'm meditating. How do you meditate? I think of not thinking. So the little monk scratching his head, trying to figure out, how do you think about not thinking? By not thinking. This is resting the mind in mind. It's very simple. All of the roads point to Rome. Not the Rome of the roaming mind, but the king of minds. Don't get the temptation to label things as it's going by. So we see these wisps of vapors of something. Before, they used to try to attract you. A shiny new car, a problem at work, your legs, whatever it is that's coming up and barking at you. Hey, pay attention. But now you're very calm, you're very quiet. We're looking at these very, very subtle movements of the mind. And as they come up, you don't take them. If you see them and you go, wow, that was pretty good. I actually saw myself passing by. I know that wasn't myself. It just went by. I'm so enlightened. No, you just tricked. And all of a sudden, the ego is manning the camera and going, is anybody there? And it looks away and says, no, if you look in the room, you see there's nobody there. You just let it all go by. It's as if you're sitting on a train and the train's moving and you're looking out the window and you see many things going by, telephone posts, houses, cars, communities, hills and mountains and the ocean, whatever is going by. It has nothing to do with you. You're not getting off the train to do that. You're just observing these things. The mind is aware of them, even if they're passing by very quickly, but they don't penetrate in. There's nothing to do there except just sit. So if you have these images passing by like on a moving train, let them go. You cannot reach for them. You just sit. be aware. After a while, there'll be only these very slow movements going by. Mind is almost there. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. Have you ever tried to glue something together and you're going, you have something, let's say, and you want to glue it and you're gluing it. This is going to look so good like that. And then you go, I wonder if it's stuck together now. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. Have you ever done that? And you go, hey, it looks like it's working. Look at, oh, crud. And you have to start again. You can't put it back in. You have to start from the beginning again. But that's the way meditation is. If you touch it and it loosens up and you've lost it, don't try to stick this back in like that. You start from the beginning again. Get going. You get everything that needs to be done there, but it's okay. You don't have to go, I was so stupid, I shouldn't have touched that. If I would have waited another hour, it would have been fine. Well, now you know, right? Don't touch it. When you're meditating, don't touch it. Let it sit. Relax with it. Be calm with it. Don't be. Don't be. It is only the image of an apparent image of someone that's on the train that is trying to certify its existence by looking out the window. But if it doesn't attach to anything that is going by, there's no you. It's turning the mind's eye inward. This is called resting the mind in mind. When we sit, then we don't negate the awareness of the mind. We need that. What is the awareness of the mind? It's mind. It's mind. Mind is aware if I have an itch on my leg. Mind is aware of it. It doesn't have to send emissaries down to find out what's going on. The totality of mind would know its body, right? And in samsara, how could not the mind know what's contained in this little tiny bubble? All the totality of the consciousness, everything, this tiny, tiny, tiny little bubble that we call the cosmos or other cosmos. The Buddha need only extend out to touch those cosmos. Just like Red Pine said, it is not that there is a distance between us, but it is a lack of distance between us that brings it all together. As I'm speaking to you, I don't see you. I see mine. I see mine that's trying to wake up, trying to reach over and begin to pull the covers off of them. Some of you are all ready to go already. Others of you are just a little bit trying to wake up. But that's the Buddha mind, not you. Even though you come along for the ride, perhaps in this lifetime you can reach so-called enlightenment, or you may in the future manifest a different body. You could go from a cab driver in this one, or a street vendor, to a billionaire in the next lifetime, or you could be a billionaire, and because of causes and conditions, you can be a pig or a ghost or whatever. It doesn't matter. I'll still see you. I'll still pick you up. It doesn't matter where you're at. I will seek you out. It is why I do not eat meat. Eating meat is like consuming my own body. When you simply just sit, you understand the infiniteness of the body, that you do not dwell anyway. If I dwell here, then I'm stuck here. And lo and behold, next lifetime, I come back due to causes and conditions. But if you understand this, this is like chasing your tail, trying to get out of here. But you can't get out of here by chasing your tail. You have to understand that the causes and conditions, what people call karma, in this so-called samsaric world, it's just simply an illusion of mind governed by the law of mind. Pratika Samapada, causes and conditions never fail. Pratika Samapada is not other than the Buddha mind. We look all over. We want to find, where's the Buddha mind? Where's the Buddha mind? It's so far away. Sometimes you even see somebody who's a good practitioner, and I say, oh, you look at them and say, oh, that person, they study so much, I could never reach their level. Of course you can. That's why you're here. You're listening. You are all qualified to do this. More qualified than, think of the process of being able to do that. Once one of my sons was applying for a job with Apple, and it was so rigorous to get a job with Apple that it's like they line up the people and they go, okay, you go to the next one. The rest of you, thank you, but no thank you. And then you just keep doing it and doing it. But enabled us to get to this point. You already are grand candidates. You've made it through the first doors. One, you decided that you had an interest in Buddha. You had an interest in removing suffering. And then all of a sudden, you have an interest in delivering sentient beings and changing this. You're prime candidates. You, amongst all of them, have the best chance because you've listened to right view. So when the right view says, simply rest mind in mind, just do that. Just rest the mind there. This is how we do it. In this resting of the mind, there's no duality. This is very important, that we do not have any kind of a duality. So when one is sitting, thinking of not thinking, contemplating infinity, there's no one that's coming up and going, oh, Gilbert, you're doing a really good job. I'm very proud of you. Not many people can do this. That's what Gilbert said, remember? So you're like one of the best. So keep going like that. Okay, I'm going to slip out for a moment. I'll come back if you need me. It isn't that way. There's no duality there. It's funny because then what is the split personality? Are we crazy? Yeah, to a certain extent, we're crazy. But if you define and expand craziness to ignorance, yes. But the thing is that we are not ignorant. We are not ignorant. It's like if I was to have a cup of tea and I spilled the tea, is it the cup's fault? Did the cup cause the problem? No. It was lack of mindfulness. Well, whose mind is it? It's Buddha mind. The very same mind that's caused the spills in your life. Anybody here that hasn't spilled something in their life, come forward. We always are spilling. Oftentimes we blame it on somebody else. Well, you shook me, or you called my name and you scared me, or whatever. But it's not the cup's fault. You're the cup. It was mind's fault because mind is the one that's actually picking up the cup to bring it forward. It's all right anyway because it's an illusion. Can you bring that spill right now to where you're at? Summon it. Come back, come back, come back. No, you can't. Because it's on the other side. It's on the side that it's impermanent. It's gone. Well, where did it go? It never came or went. It is just simply absorbed in the mind. If necessary, the thoughts of it could come back, but those thoughts are impermanent. Later, they will fade. Whatever knowledge that I have, or we could say Gilbert has, this knowledge, when Gilbert passes away, that consciousness will not continue in this way for the samsaric world presently around to share. It is why I am constantly presenting the Dharma, so you can carry it forward, so the books could be made of it. People can play the recordings so that to understand and set the proper pattern for them to practice. So this is why I'm presenting this, is so that it can be preserved. How to sit. We don't know how to sit. But when we know how to sit, we just simply sit. How do we sit? Rest the mind in the mind. It's very, very simple. It's very, very simple. But it's hard because we constantly trying to say, what is Gilbert saying by that? Don't worry about it. It's the same as thinking of not thinking. How do you do that? By not thinking. Little by little, this will sink in. In the beginning, it sounds so preposterous. You have no idea. What is Gilbert talking about? How can you rest mind and mind? That doesn't even make any sense. But I'm giving you the example so that it can help you to open the door to chant. When we rest the mind in the mind, this no duality, it's not like an ostrich, the proverbial ostrich, right? And it's all right. You're not at fault. And it buries its head in the sand, so that when it's frightened, it buries its head. Nothing's there, right? And again, don't write to me and say that that's just some story. Ostriches don't do that. You know, of course, they do it all the time. We're always burying our heads in the sand. I don't want to think about it. And you think all the time, but you don't want to think bad thoughts. You just want to think good thoughts. But it isn't in this way. If you think that there are good thoughts, then of course there have to be bad thoughts. And as a result of that, eureka, you discover why this samsaric world appears within the mind ground. And the mind ground is just there. And And these thoughts and ideas of an ego, an identity, of a personality, let's go right to the heart of what is happening here, like the Heart Sutra. And you see these crystals forming on the ground, but they're illusory crystals. They have to form somewhere. They cannot be like something forming in the sky. Can you conjure up a crystal floating in the sky? No, there has to be a ground for them to be able to appear, something that gives them the energy to appear. Even if the energy is simply the dream, it is in this way that something has to do it. And what is that? It is the mind ground, this side here, the mind ground, the root Jing, that everything appears to come into. And it's so good at this. I hit the table just to wake up some of you drowsy ones out there. Um, I hit the table and it feels solid, right? But it isn't in that way. It isn't. Even though we think it, of course we can't do it because we're part of the dream. So we're governed by all of the rules in the dream that say, you cannot fly, you cannot do this, you cannot do that, because you're stuck in this dream. But the you is not you as a person, but the you, which is the slumbering Buddha that needs to be awakened. The Buddha awakens. Where does it awaken? It appears to awaken in this body. By the way, I'm not saying I'm awakened or enlightened or anything, but I'm just using this as an example. And it says, wow, I'm here. And this place is not a great place, but I see so much suffering. I want to take away the suffering. But I understand the suffering. There is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no cessation of suffering, and no path. Heart Sutra. But yet, there are those that are stuck here that believe that this is real in this way. It's too bad. We really don't see things in the right way. If we did, we would not see the world that way. But if one awakens and goes, wow, this body here feels real, but I know I'm in a dream. What am I going to do in the dream? Perhaps wake up others that are stuck in the dream, that don't know, and they suffer. Oh, some of you, you're like 10th Dan black belts in suffering, the highest level, the tai level of suffering. So much suffering. What do you suffer about? You're there, you're eating a donut. Oh, bliss, bliss. I'm eating a donut. And then it's gone. Ah, I want more. That gave me pleasure. It made my stomach sing. I want more of that, more. But I don't have any. So you suffer. Suffer from what you don't have. Maybe it is you suffer from you don't have good looks, or you suffer from you don't have enough money. And some of you who are getting long in the tooth or no teeth suffer about time. I don't have time. I want more time. It doesn't work that way. We have to see the one that is truly awakening in that moment is never been born, never dies. But we gauge everything from the apparent reality of this world and take this to be real. So I have to go and do everything I can in this lifetime to be good to others sentient beings. So when I come back, I can go through the priority lane, the VIP coming back, perhaps go to the God world or to become an Ashura or a human. No, you have your pass, heaven pass, heaven pass. So you can go to heaven. But it isn't in that way. Realization, liberation, it's in the palm of your hand right now. There's nothing there needed or need to be removed to understand this world and to understand this practice of Chan is the liberation of even the liberation of liberation. Because if you're tied to liberation, are you liberated? Oh, yes, I'm liberated. I feel fine. I'm fine. The IRS is at the door. Tell them I'm not here. It isn't in this way. Liberation is the liberation of lack of duality. There's nothing there on the other side of that. One sees that they're just taking care of mine. How would you not take care of it? If you have some new white shoes or new shoes and you go out in your shoes and it rains, I don't think that's ever happened to anybody, right? Where you buy some new shoes and all of a sudden you're walking in the rain with your new shoes, trying to miss the puddles as you're walking. But it's not that way. Everything is in a state of equanimity. We understand when these things happen, they happen for a reason. Sometimes we can sidestep them. And we sidestep this way and we miss the one that's going to happen in the future because we're adept not to create the new causes for a condition that's unfavorable to happen. Perhaps it's to pay the bill or not to charge something. Charging something gives you the instant gratitude. I feel so good. I got a brand new shirt, or I got this, or I got that. And then you get the bill and go, where did that come from? You know, how much did that cost? We don't measure this world in successes and failures and how much money we have in the bank, or how beautiful we are, or how beautiful our children are, or whether our children had gone to a good school and they're the top of the class. Is that success? It's just a function we do to try to do that, but it doesn't matter. Maybe when your child comes out, their aptitude is not very good. They're a little bit slower than the others, but yet you want them to be first in school. Sometimes it doesn't work out that way. Sometimes that's a repayment of karma. But we try to force the square peg into the round hole and it won't work. Why didn't it work all the other times? It didn't work this lifetime. So again, there is a disease in mind, unfortunately. When you see things just as they really are, then you understand how to practice in the right way. I'm going to stop there. I still have 2.25 pages to go over out of 3 pages. So we didn't make too much progress in my notes here, but I think at least to give you an idea, and I'm going to continue with this to show you how resting the mind and the mind works. It works 100%. Remember Gilbert's lifetime guarantee. If it doesn't work in this lifetime, come back next lifetime, you're guaranteed, and try it again until it finally works. It is in this way. You can't miss. Operators are standing by to take your call. What is your call? Practice. Rest the mind. Rest it. Just rest it. It's there. It's waiting for you. It's waiting for you to come to the cushion to rest. It's waiting for you to engage with people and rest. Engage in activities that you need to do. Do you want to sit there and watch TV, or do you want to clean up the house? And your friends come to your house and go, wow, it's really messy. But you say to them, oh, but you can't believe how many cool Chinese dramas I saw on TV. So you have to practice better than that. You have to put the time in. But here's the one thing that's very, very cool about this practice. To rest the mind in mind, you don't need to do anything. Not one thing. Well, maybe just keep your body erect. Don't let it fall over. But other than that, just sit, resting mind and mind. Very calm. The calmness doesn't come from the sensory gates. It comes from the infinite. Is it really that important to suffer because I have a rock in my shoe or a pebble in my shoe, when this entire world of ours is so infinitesimally small, smaller than the Buddha's teardrop? But yet it still matters because everything is connected in this way. Why shouldn't we help somebody open the door, or help them with money, or help them and take the time to explain the Dharma to them? Not proselytizing. Buddha loves you. Here's a pamphlet. No, it isn't in this way. We project a calmness in this world through body, speech, and mind because we're resting moment to moment. So the mind resting, it has no obstructions. It doesn't have 64 windows open. Sometimes I look at my computer and I realize I have an astronomical amount of windows open, because I just never shut them down. And I'm wondering why everybody's moving like this, because it's so overloaded. But you just unload that in every moment, just very calm. Okay. And please, nobody, when I die, make a statue of me like this. Okay. Oh, we heard Gilbert, and he said he wanted, when he died, he wanted a statue like this. No, those statues. Okay. I'm definitely not that important. I'm not so important to even talk about those things, but I'm using them as an example that we don't see things in this way. Well, I wanted to continue going on, and I probably could, do a marathon one, but we're going to have to finish up. Again, I apologize for the start and the wait. Causes and conditions, I'm really trying to bring you the best possible audio and picture and everything, but for some reason, all of that fell apart today. So I kind of patchworked it into work, and even the lights didn't work. I have to go and find out what's going on with that too. But we still made it through. So I will take your questions. Thank you very much for listening. And can be your questions or comments of whether you don't understand something, or you did, or made it clear, or didn't make it clear, So please provide me with your comments.
Hello, Master. It's Arvind here. I'm off camera just so that I can be close to the mic, so that my audio is clear.
Okay.
Um, as you were talking, two thoughts came up in terms of as a method to return to, and I wanted your um, comment on it. One was, is is ignorance also inconceivable in the same way we talk about mind as inconceivable? And the second was, when we say resting the mind in mind, is it the same to be resting in the ignorance as a method? Are they the same? And I want to stop asking the question right here because I don't think I can put more into the right words, but these were the thoughts. Thank you.
I think that what I was talking about today and what I'll continue to talk about are the, let's say, the cornerstones of our practice where we look at it. The first thing is to recognize that you neither exist nor non-exist, but when you practice that, you are looking into the source of all appearances. And this is where your answers will come from, because it's difficult as we begin to look at this and it appears, well, that's absurd, that to do that, that that doesn't even make any sense whatsoever to do that. But actually, as you begin to contemplate it, you begin to see that it makes empirical sense, because otherwise how could things be the way they are? It doesn't make any sense at all. It is as if we say a supreme deity is creating everything. Then why did the supreme deity with all of this power create such um, a sorrowful world? But we don't blame that on Buddha, even though it's created by the mind. Somehow this ignorance leaked out and created some sorrow. So all of the appearances that are coming out, it comes from mind itself, not from you. You cannot rectify it, but mind can rectify it. And upon awakening, understands that it had been separate from mind. The mind welcomes it in, but you're not there to like high five the Buddha or a Bodhisattva or whatever. It's just time to roll up your sleeves and work and understand that there's still people that were from the shipwreck that are still in the ocean and need to be saved. And so then you use this body and the bodies after it until there is no bodies to save. This is the awakening. And the awakening is you're foregoing your final enlightenment until everyone is saved. Why? Because it's just like in the sutra um, of Vilamakritti, where the Buddha asked him why is he ill, and he says, I'm ill because sentient beings are ill, and they suffer all the time. And when their suffering is finished, then I will no longer be ill. Who is ill? Vilamakritti? No. Mind is ill. It's like you have a cut on your arm. It's a little infected. And then it's leaking some liquids, pus or something, and you automatically attend to it, wanting to take care of it, wanting to heal it, giving it the antibacterial medicines to it, covering it up, taking good care of it every day, making sure it's progressing little by little, it will do that, depending on how deep the wound is. If it was a razor wound or a knife wound, it was very deep, or if it was a puncture, it will take time to heal. But it's your body, so you take care of it every day. You don't forget about it. You don't go out and garden without it being covered. You're very careful. This is what we're doing here. This is how we see the world. So hopefully that will help you a little bit in terms of understanding this. But it's very simple. If you see everything as the body of the Buddha, it is not created by some supreme deity. We say the Buddha created everything, but not in the sense of a choice of creating, but in the operation of the creation. But understand, the ignorance was first. Then there came at the very end of all those 12 nidanas the idea of a person, of life, birth, and the idea of death. But all of these are illusions, they're dreams. We don't understand that. But to all of you, even some of you that are older, you still have an opportunity to make great gains. And to some of you, I'm seeing Kreger there, for the love of animals, you're not limited to helping human sentient beings. It's wide open. You see that. You see, if somebody is vexed by a spirit, you don't try to simply remove the spirit, but you understand that spirit is also a sentient being. So you take care of the spirit as well as take care of the person vexed by the spirit. And because this is the way we do it. If we just take the person away from the bad scenario of the spirit is just going to look for somebody else to vex. It's just that way. So we begin to understand things not from the idea of the ego, but of mind itself, and understanding all of these are self-inflicted wounds of the Buddha. When we understand that, then there's an interest to stop the suffering, but it's not from the sense that there is a supreme deity that's doing it, but simply the understanding of how mind works, the thusness of mind. Okay, any other questions? I went right back into a lecture because it's all packed up. I want to get it out, but unfortunately I run out of time. Any other questions? No? No questions? This is a very rare one then, because I don't, looking through it and seeing who's here. There's a lot of people here that should have questions. By the way, afterwards, Tori, stick around because I wanted to talk to you for a second. But no questions.
Question.
Go ahead, Tom.
It's an invitation for you to say a few more words. Regarding taking care of the bad spirit. I thought that was an interesting comment. In my day job, I'm a teacher, and it seems to me these days that the kids have quite a few vexations, a few bad spirits. And one of the big things that I think teachers have been coping with in the last couple of years is, well, kind of how to keep their poker face on because of the shifting priorities between us and the kids. And this is fine. I don't mind if the kids have different goals, but I think it would be helpful to understand maybe a little bit more what you mean by taking care of the bad spirit. How can we, get ourselves oriented in the same direction?
Some things we could say are influences, such as let's say, a kid playing some Mortal Kombat game, or I'm not into the games, but the games that are very popular where people are always fighting and blowing up others and en masse, that can provide an influence to they'll actually be very good soldiers of I always forget the name of the things that buzz around in the air, but they can't communicate with people because they don't learn those skills, and they always see things in a competitive way. But in their competition, it's very introvert. There are those that have spirits that actually vex them. And these spirits, people, let's say, I'll use this as a very isolated way. They're playing a game and there's a bunch of bad things happening, and you have to fight these things or whatever and develop these kinds of magical powers or whatever. You open yourself up to a a world that one is not ready for, and it can get them to encounter spirits, and they're ill-equipped to do that because they cannot fight them with pressing a button. But those things can also come into the person, so they're a little bit different than just the influences, um, that we could say that's an influence of the world, and that, but actual spirits that can vex people. And those spirits, then, they too are sentient beings. They're formless. They don't have a form most of the time, and but they too have to be taken care of. It's like if you were going to cure somebody of a disease and extract it, and it's highly contagious, you don't just leave it out. You have to take care of it, or it will, let's say, whatever it is, it will jump onto someone else. But because of our compassion, we don't discriminate as to form or formlessness, as to what they are. We nevertheless have to take care of that side, the negative side, as well as the positive side. Otherwise, we're only doing half the job or less than half of it. But yeah, it's interesting. As a teacher, you have to understand, the influences, and you have to try to counteract it with positive things, and positive teachings, and positive uh, engagements in the classroom that keep away from people ridiculing others or bullying people, or these personalities, or you see somebody in your classroom with a big hoodie pulled over. Maybe you've already seen that before, where they're just sitting there in their own little world, and you have to use your wisdom to generate compassion to figure out how to help them. And so you have to do your best in that way and be patient, because sometimes whatever you do can make a big difference. Sometimes I have people come back and they'll go, Gilbert, I want to thank you. I say, for what? And I'm thinking, who is this person? I recognize the face, but I don't recognize anything more than, oh, you said something to me that really changed my life, right? You have that opportunity. And as a teacher, you have an opportunity to teach, not from a um, a religious sense, but as this general wisdom, universal wisdom, and compassion, to teach the people to be kind to each other, to teach the people to not fight. And every once in a while, you're going to light a lamp along the way, but not bad. So this is how I would do that. You have actually a very great opportunity to affect people's lives. And each day when you go to the classroom, understand that you have a chance. You don't make them watch biblical programs on Jesus healing people or the Buddha or whatever, you use this universal wisdom and compassion. You show things, but also you show causes and conditions. That the causes, if you do something good, you get this. If you do something bad, this will happen. And so that the people can understand that and separate them from the idea of whatever they're doing in these games that they play, or whatever they're doing, that there's consequences to things, especially if it's bullying, things of that nature. So best of luck to you with that, because you really have an excellent job to change people. Even one word, one sentence can make a difference in one person's life. And just that makes it all worth it, Tom.
I feel like
Even if
maybe
you,
I'm good for about one a semester, maybe two tops, and I'm very envious of some of our ancestors, you know, with communities of hundreds, and it feels like every anecdote is a great achievement. And what can I say? I'd like it if I could get that number up to about 100 or so a semester, because I'm in charge of several hundred, and it's tough times. What can we say?
you will, everything's created by the mind. I mean, you have the heart. You just have to find the wisdom to be able to know how to spread the compassion more. But again, it's like the story I was telling about the crabs that washed up on the shore, and the lady's throwing them in one by one, and a person comes by and says, "You're so ridiculous, you know. What use is it going to be? What does it matter? You know, there's thousands of them on the shoreline." And as she picks one up and throws it back into the ocean, she said, "Well, it mattered to that one." And that's what you're working on. Even if it's one per semester, that's a victory. It mattered to that one, because that one's going to change the world. Okay, so good. I'm very happy you recognize what your true function is there. I mean, obviously you have to teach knowledge, but you're there to serve as a representative of of Chan, how to practice. Okay, Renee. Oh, Renee and then Angela. Go ahead.
Thank you, Gilbert. Thank you for wonderful teaching. That's very important and practical. Yeah, tonight. So I have a question about my practice. And right now, I've been continually applying and letting go of all thoughts, while remaining aware of everything in the present moment at all times. Just rest the mind in here and now, right in front of me. So is it okay to practice this way? Are there any adjustments I need to make?
No, none whatsoever. You have the right attitude. You're very sincere in what you're doing, and just when it starts getting slippery, the slope, just keep moving, keep going, be continuous with it, and it will work. Have faith. The thing is, we have to have a faith that it will work, a faith and an understanding. Just like Tom, you have to have a faith that even if you get one or two per semester, you know, that matters. And so as long as you understand, just continue this way, that you're doing it in the right way. Just don't think that you are doing it. Just let it be done. Okay, little by little, drop off the other part. Okay, so very good. Just keep going and let me know how you're doing with all of that. So very, very good. Angela.
Hello, good evening, Gilbert. Thank you for your teaching. Amitabha. So my question is about the meditation, because like how deep of a, I suppose you call it meditative concentration, or stillness. Well, maybe not stillness is not the right word, but meditative concentration do we need when we are practicing to rest mind in mind and ultimately to realize what you have shared, right? Like this truth, the prajna paramita. that, everything is an illusion, it comes from mind. Yeah, because some traditions, they emphasize entering, very deep states of concentration or samadhi, and some says like, it's more of like open awareness. And of course, our Chan tradition, I think the word Chan comes from jhana, if I'm not wrong. And jhana, I think, represents quite deep states of concentration and like absorption. So that's what I'm asking for, like in terms of a practical perspective, when I do my meditation, should I be not going for, again, that's a wrong word, but should I be practicing to cultivate, deeper states of concentration to allow that prajna to arise? Or, how do I practice practically? Thank you, Gilbert.
Your question is an excellent question. I will answer it very briefly, but I will continue to discuss this. I've recently had some of my lectures, maybe three weeks back or 4 weeks back, where I was talking about this in more detail of the practice of samatha, samadhi, samapati, and dhyana, and sometimes they're used interchangeably. The idea of concentration, you can practice methods to strengthen your concentration so that when you sit, you can be more concentrated. As I've mentioned before, even an assassin practices concentration. So it's not enough simply to have concentration, but one has to also enter into a proper state of samadhi. But as we do that, little by little, resting the mind in mind, that concentration and that samadhi, and then ultimately the samapati, and then the actualization of that in body, speech, and mind from there on, this aspect of dhyana, meaning chan, meaning the practice, it comes naturally. And so where other people practice methods to try to do it and say, have you practiced? Did you meet the prerequisites? Can you do this? Can you do that? We just start from just this mind is the Buddha mind. And when we see it in this way, and we say just this mind is the Buddha mind, then we start as already a victor. And as in the Asta Sutra called it a jina, Jina, a victor. You're already a victor. When you sit, it's yours to lose. You sit as a victor, and then little by little, the ego starts cutting off chunks of that, breaking it up, and breaking the foundation of your practice. If you have faith to practice in the right way, and you're sitting, just sitting, concentration will be there. And so there's no problem with that. It's just like what Renee was doing. It'll all be there. What's missing is the ego. You don't need the ego to practice. It is what one sutra said, that the one that seeks enlightenment is the obstruction to enlightenment. And so as you look at it, then you begin to see how easily that fits into everything. Then you go, because some people would go, well, that's ridiculous. And that means like you're not getting anywhere. No, yeah, you're not getting anywhere because you are not there. It is simply mind. And when you use mind in this way, it opens your heart. The wisdom is there to understand how things work. It opens your heart to this unbridled compassion. So Tom, a myriad of ways to express this compassion to the people. You don't have to say, hey, are you paying attention, or grab them by the ear or twist them. I guess you can't do that anymore in the US. You have to go to China or Taiwan or Japan. I don't know. And then they can hit them with a stick. No, but here you have to know how to do it. But as you practice, then all of that fits together, the concentration, samadhi, samapati, and dhyana. They're all there. It is what Nagarjuna said, and I keep repeating this, but it's important that in the word dhyana, samatha, samadhi, samapati, they're all subsumed into dhyana. So they're absorbed into that and are part of it. So we don't have to chop it and say, okay, now I'm going to practice concentration, and this concentration will lead me there. A lot of people teach in this way, and it is a way to do it. It's a long way around to do it in that way. And sometimes I reach people or talk to people, and they've been practicing concentration all their life. Some of them are old, and they haven't even gotten around to samadhi yet. Nobody's told them, okay, enough concentration, get in the game, start practicing. So when we practice from the other side, turning the mind's eye inward, as we practice and turning the mind's eye inward, it is the mind that's looking at everything. And lo and behold, it is the mind that's directing the mind to do this and do that and not do this. It knows precisely what to say, do, or think moment to moment, not you. You are the obstruction. You're the clog, all of the trapped hair that keeps the drain from flowing smoothly. So if they ask you, what did Gilbert teach you today? He said, I'm just an entangled bunch of hair in the sink. Perhaps so. But that water has to move smoothly through. So I think that's something, and you're welcome, Leonardo. But anyway, that's how you practice. So when you understand all of those things are subsumed into this term dhyana, then you practice them simultaneously. They will come up automatically, and then some of the samapadis, the last four, are not practiced. They are realized mind and components of the realized mind. Okay. All right. Good. Thank you. Any other ones? I know we're running overtime again. I apologize, but okay. Well, you guys got, at least 25 cents worth of Dharma. I would say $5, but I still, a lot of people owe me $5. But in any case, I do thank you all, and thank you for your patience. I think it was worth it. I really tried to keep working on this idea of resting mind and mind, because if you do it right, it's going to really accelerate your practice, and you will understand this. It's like you can take this slow train, or you can take the bullet train. How many of you want to take the slow train when the bullet train is there? The bullet train is not a desire of the ego. The bullet train is simply this instant awakening of that everything is just mind. And starting from there, working your way down, it really changes everything, because you are here as an appearance, which you all are anyway, but you understand that you're an appearance, but you're not of this world. Why would you want to be of this world when this world is so infinitesimally small compared to mine? Pick the right door, choose the right way. Why not? Okay. So anyway, again, thank you for listening. I'm ending up trying to squeeze some more Dharma into you. So anyway, well, we will see you next week. Thank you for listening.